Hello, I'm Suzy Vance, creating from the heart the artistry of living. And I'm here with Stephen Schwab.
How are you, Suzy?
Who is an entrepreneur and lawyer of great magnitude and a good friend.
That part for sure.
So Stephen, the first time I remember something amazing about you is you had a law firm that I would come and work in the mornings before I went to law school. But you had some side things going on. You were doing something on your dining room table in Evanston. What was that?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Give me a hint.
Something having to do with pizza?
Yes. I was learning how to bake a pizza.
You were?
I always, when I was much younger, a teenager, my brother and I would go to Uno's or Due's and get a pizza and bring it home to watch the Blackhawks play hockey.
The deep dish pizza, I bet.
The deep dish.
Oh my God, I love their deep dish pizzas.
Then I forgot about it. I ate it, of course. I loved it. But one day I was representing a pizza place in Evanston, and I went over to his pizza place and I was going to pick up a pizza, and I said, "How hot does the oven have to be to bake a pizza?" And he said, "Whatever you got at home, a 500-degree oven will be fine." I said, "Really?" So I borrowed a pizza pan and I borrowed some dough, and I went home and I made a pizza, and I put all the things I really liked on it, extra cheese and blah, blah, blah. And it was delicious. So then I said to him, "Where do you buy pizza pans?" And he said, "I have a metal spinner who lives here in Evanston who's got a plant in Chicago, and you can get them from him." I said, "Well, what about Marshall Fields or whatever, Crate and Barrel?" There were 7 Crate and Barrels at that time. And he said, "I don't know." So I went around to Marshall Fields, which then was not called a gourmet department. It was called a housewares department.
Uh-huh.
And they had matronly women in their long white gowns selling housewares. And I asked them about pizza pan, and they said, we don't know. What's a deep dish pizza pan?"
They didn't even know what
No,
deep
they
dish
didn't.
pizza
And then
was.
then I explained to them, they said, "Oh, well, we have cake pans that are deep. But the problem with the cake pans is they're straight-sided.
Yes.
So if you were going to sell 144 cake pans, you'd be piled up to the ceiling, as opposed to the Uno's or Due's pizza pans, which were tapered, and you could fit 144 in a space of, 24 inches. Maybe.
Uh-huh.
So then I thought, okay, I'm going to learn how to make pizza. And I fooled around and learned how to make pizza and sauces and all the ingredients and whatever. And I hand wrote a recipe booklet, and I got a plain box from from the pizza guy that supplied the pizza place with boxes. And I got stencil letters, and I stenciled on a Chicago-style deep dish pizza maker. And then I took a pad of that a fast food place, or those days a restaurant, would have, where they would take your order, and I wrote on Chicago-style deep dish pizza maker and $10, and I stapled it on the box, so it looked like a takeout pizza box.
Yes. Clever.
And the rest is history.
Yes. So I hear what you did is that you eventually asked one of the people that had worked for you in your law firm, had somebody who was down in where, St. Louis, or no, in Ohio, Cincinnati,
Yep.
And she was opening up a store, a gift store, or a cooking store or something.
Cooking store.
And so you took a bunch of them down there.
I took her a dozen pizza pans, boxed pizza pans.
Over Valentine's Day, I think.
And she called me on Monday following that and said, "We sold them out." It's fantastic. And she referred me to a rep in the Mart who became a good friend of ours, and he said, "Well, I think it's got some merit." And he took it to Crate and Barrel. This was in November of 1977, and it was their 3rd best-selling item that season at Christmas.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
The start of something that sort of grabbed your fantasy outside the law.
It did.
Okay, so
but that's usually the case with lawyers, as you know.
Yes, I know. They like practicing law, but they have a lot of side stuff going on.
Exactly right.
So did your side stuff expand?
It did. We started doing everything we could think of that had to do with pizza. We started importing pizza cutters and spatulas and the pizza pan grabbers that when they served you pizza, Geno's.
The
or
sliders, yeah.
and then pizza peels and whatever. And then we got into pizza stones, and
then you got into bread.
then we got into bread. So
You even had one of my recipes
I
in
did.
your little bread book.
I did. We had a pottery in Western Illinois called Western Stoneware, which was it was one of the oldest potteries in the United States. And they were making the pizza stone for me, and then I asked them, could they take a mixing bowl that they made, turn it upside down, put a handle on the bottom of it, and then I would use that, put it over a pizza stone, and use it like a brick oven.
It's fabulous, I have to say.
And lo and behold, we took it to the gourmet show in San Francisco, and this little old guy came and he walked past the booth and he said, "What's that?" It was only one of a kind. It was only one handmade sample. And I said, "It's called La Cloche," which I had learned from a book by Elizabeth David called English Bread and Yeast Cookery. And that was a piece that the Romans would take, or the Etruscans would take around with them on their trips, and they would, when the embers burned down, they'd put that on the stone on the embers, and they'd make a bread and cover it, and then make bread.
Right.
And he said, "Can you get me a sample?" I said, "Well, this is the only sample, but I'll bring it to you after the show." It turned out it was Chuck Williams from Williams-Sonoma. And he went crazy for it, and he said, "This is phenomenal. Make some more samples, send one to James Beard," which we did. And about a month later, in 700 newspapers across the country, there was a column by James Beard that said he never made a better loaf of bread in his life than he did in this piece of ours. And then Chuck Williams published one of his cookbooks, and it was on the back cover was a picture of him with the piece, with the La Cloche, in his pre-San Francisco Fire kitchen. And it was just fantastic, fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Yep. And
It didn't stop there.
no, then we started traveling. We started going to Japan, where we found a phenomenal scissors factory. And that reason we got to a scissors factory was because I always cut pizza with the scissors when I was a kid. And it was much easier than cutting it with a pizza cutter.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a pizza scissors. So we found a factory that made scissors, and we put a yellow handle on it like it was cheese. We put it in a little box and called it a pizza scissors, and it was pretty successful. But then at the factory, we noticed that they made incredible scissors. The Japanese, after the war, made junk, and then they became master craftsmen, just like the Germans after the war didn't make very good stuff, but then they became master craftsmen. And now the Chinese are becoming master craftsmen. And the Japanese made just precision scissors, just fabulous scissors. So we started importing scissors, and we just started doing it. We have a wonderful house out here in Beverly Shores and beautiful beach, and we used to go and get inner tubes from the garage or from the gas stations to use in the water. And I said, well, why can't we have inner tubes made?
Why can't we make our own?
Yeah, so we did. We found a factory in Taiwan that made the rubber inflatable boats like Jacques Cousteau's boats.
Yes.
And we asked, could we make inner tubes out of that material? And they said, sure. And we did, and they were fantastic.
All different colors.
All different colors, all different designs, and they were just wonderful. Expensive, but wonderful.
And all this while you're practicing law, right?
Yes.
I just thought I'd check.
Yeah.
You didn't give up the core.
No.
Okay.
Uh,
But you were having fun.
we were having great fun, and we just kept doing things that we wanted to do as opposed to being put into a pigeonhole and saying, okay, we're just a pizza company, or we're just... Anytime we saw something that looked great, or that we thought was a good idea, or that we came up with a good idea, we were at a trade show in New York, and the booth had a big post in it that we never knew was there, and I was really upset about it because it took away from our selling space. And I'm walking around looking, and I see these giant pieces of chalk that the electricians use to mark on the floor where cables go or whatever, and I thought, God, this would be great for kids to make, to play with on the sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
the time there wasn't such a thing. Nobody. There was that chalk, but nobody ever. So we did 5 different colors in a package and called it sidewalk chalk, and that did fantastic. the only difference is that what we did is we always started a trend, and then we weren't interested in following up because we were not interested in selling the big box stores, the Walmarts or whatever. We were only interested in those days in selling the little toy stores and the little gourmet stores.
Well, and there was a time when you had stores.
Yeah, we did. We had 7 stores at one point. One run here in Michigan City at the Lighthouse Place Mall, and we had them around the country. And again, we just did stores where we thought we'd like to go. So we had one store in Breckenridge, Colorado, where I could literally walk out of the back door of the store with my fly rod and walk 100 feet and fly fish for trout. And so that's what we did.
So it's the fun that motivated you.
Exactly right.
And so if you had some advice for somebody who was 18 or 19, or just out of college, trying to decide whether to go to college or whether to go to beyond to like law school or something, what would you say to them?
I'd say do as much as you can, and bear in mind that that's not what you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. But it'll give you the foundation to do other things. And you'll learn a lot. I mean, when I was in law school, we took one of the classes was commercial law, and it was the most boring, horrible. I can't tell you how terrible it was. And then when I started my business, all of a sudden I had to fill out bills of lading, which when I was in class, I thought, what is this? It's a bunch of junk. Who cares about? When I had to fill out bill of lading, all of a sudden I realized, God, this was genius. This commercial law course, it's really right. That was terrific.
So I would call you a lawyer that went rogue.
Correct.
Good. Thank you very much, Stephen. It's been fun. Suzy Vance from Creating the Heart, the Artistry of Living with an Artist who is amazing. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.